everybody. We are officially on day 90 of the lockdown in South Africa. Geez, none of us ever saw this coming. I think when the pandemic started, we all kind of had an idea because we saw things happening very quickly around us, so many changes, and I don't think we expected that at this point in time we would still be here. So for me personally, when the pandemic started and we were being placed on lockdown, I decided that I'm going to prepare myself psychologically because that's how I best deal with things, like by preparing myself and kind of accepting the situation for what it is. And then from then on, then deciding what kind of steps I'm going to take to be able to cope with things. So when the pandemic started, I decided, you know what? This is probably going to be here for a while. I don't know the gravity of it, but let me maybe extend to as far as possible. So if you remember, I mean, the initial lockdown period had been indicated to be 21 days. What I found quite interesting is that in that time, whenever I was in conversation with people, whether it's from a work perspective, whether it's friends, people would be saying, I can't wait. We've got 7 days left of lockdown. And I'd laugh about it. I'd say, what certainty do you have? How do you know that it's going to be 21 days? I know that's what we've been told, but how do you know that it's actually going to be that? So for me personally, I took a decision just to extend it for as long as possible. Now, funny enough, for me, I saw that period being until the end of June. So I had prepared myself that lockdown is not going to be 21 days, it's going to be 3 months, and that 3 months is going to come to an end at the end of June. And now here we are. We are at the end of June, and there is no end to lockdown in sight. And I know that, there's been levels to it, and there's certain things that have kind of eased up, and the economy being open from being closed previously with level 5. And it's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey. Now, my topic today really is around change and the impact that change has on our lives. Now, we all know that, it's been highlighted that the ability to adapt to change is actually a strength. And I firmly believe that. And often, I think as human beings, we battle with certain things because we're struggling to move from a certain way of operating to a new way of operating, having to change our mind about stuff. So for me, I look at change as something that is one of those things that are certain in life. You can't avoid change. Change comes. If you think about it in all forms of your life, change is inevitable. So there's things like, looking at age. When you grow older, you tend to formulate your own thoughts about certain things. There's a maturity sometimes that growing older comes with, and certain ideals and ideologies that you used to have before, you kind of, realize that as you grow older that those were really just that, ideals and ideologies, and you let them go. If you look at personal relationships, sometimes you outgrow certain people, whether they be friends, whether they be romantic relationships, and sometimes even family. You outgrow certain family members, although you guys are somewhat bound by blood, but you kind of outgrow how you've related to these people. So for me, change is an inevitable thing. It is going to happen, whether we like it or not. And the important thing is just how you look at it. And I think, often we look at it negatively, including if we look at this time that we've been in with the pandemic. So I think, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it shocked all our systems. It shocked people financially, in that some people have had to take a knock in terms of their income. Some people have lost their jobs because their companies have released them. Economies have been impacted globally. It's a great shock. It really has been shocking. And I think as well, from a mental health perspective, there's a lot there that's happened because life has become so different. And when you were, in the old world, I refer to it as the old world, where, you had easy access to people. That's changed, and having to stay closed up in your home and living in a different way, it's shocked the system. Not being able to see your family when you want to see your family, not being able to go and eat at a restaurant when you want to go and eat at a restaurant. So it's been a tumultuous time. There's been a lot of change, and how I've coped with it is that I've taken it one day at a time and kind of just embrace the reality of where we are at. And I've had to look back on the last 90 days I have certainly evolved as a person. I've had more time with myself. I've had more time to actually evaluate the things that matter to me. So there's a lot of positive things that have come out of this time, and it's all about perspective, being able to sit and take stock to say, look, this is where I'm at. This is what things used to look like, and I'm letting go of how things used to look like because we are now in a new world. And in this new world, how am I making things work for me? I may not be able to go and see my friends like I would be able to previously, but how am I going to connect with my friends in this time to keep our relationships going? Um, it's also about saying, what habits am I changing? With this change that we've undergone, am I going to come out the same? Are there opportunities for me to actually, things that don't even require much effort, but it's the little things. Like, for example, a silly thing, like for me, I absolutely hate doing the dishes. But in this time, I've said to myself, look, I'm at home. I'm at home. Um, it doesn't require so much out of me. I can actually juggle washing the dishes while I'm in a meeting, for example, or while I'm catching up with a friend. I've actually done that quite well, where I do the dishes and I've got my earphones on and I'm speaking to a friend. And for me, these are all ways that then I've decided I'm adapting to this change in this way. And I'm quite happy and proud of the woman I've become in these last 90 days. It's afforded me so many opportunities. I've had the time to read books that outside of this time, I don't think I would have been able to make the same kind of time commitment. Because there's less distractions and there's less noise, I've been able to fulfill some of my most inner desires. So all I'm saying to you today is that let's not view change as this overwhelming and extremely debilitating thing. I know change can sometimes feel like it's too much of a shock, but the sooner we embrace and accept that change is here and it's happening and it's happened, then the easier, because it's basically surrendering, then it's easier to then carve a way forward, one step at a time. It doesn't have to be anything shocking and, you know, no pressure from anyone. But the first and most important thing is to accept the change that has taken place and acknowledging that, we are moving or have moved into a new world and things will not operate in the same way that they used to. The sooner we accept that, the better. Then we stop wrestling ourselves with things and wanting to hold on to moments that have passed away, and people that we've left behind. It's okay. Change is a part of life and it's a part of our growth. So that was just my reminder for you today, and just an urge to say, you take stock of your own life for the last 90 days. You'll be amazed at what you find. Have a good evening ahead.